Welcome to the channel NextGen Tech Prep. In today's video, we are diving deep into essential questions and comprehensive answers for the Microsoft Agentic AI Business Solutions Architect certification. Whether you're preparing for an exam or just looking to sharpen your knowledge, you're in the right place. If you find this content valuable, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's get started.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company has an e-commerce support portal that uses Microsoft Dataverse. You are designing a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent for the portal. The agent must meet the following requirements: respond with a default help message when the user input is unclear, initiate external processes, such as retrieving the order status, when users make specific requests. Generative orchestration will be enabled for the solution. You need to recommend a feature for each requirement. What should you recommend? To answer, drag the appropriate features to the correct requirements. Each feature may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are: respond with a default help message when the user input is unclear, the fallback topic, initiate external processes when requested, a tool, connector. Why are these options correct? Because the fallback topic automatically triggers in Copilot Studio when user input is unrecognized or unclear, allowing the agent to return a default help response. With generative orchestration enabled, Copilot Studio uses tools, connectors, flows, or APIs to autonomously trigger external processes like fetching order status based on user requests. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because trigger phrases match user intent to specific topics in standard topic routing, but do not handle unrecognized input or perform external actions directly. A skill, bot framework skills add external capabilities, but standard generative orchestration in Copilot Studio uses tools, connectors, for executing external processes. The escalate topic is triggered specifically when a user requests a human live agent, not when user input is unclear.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company plans to implement an AI solution that will contain a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent and a Microsoft Foundry agent. The solution will be stored in a source code repository. You need to recommend a deployment method for each agent. The solution must meet the following requirements. A test environment must be used before a deployment to production. Production must be isolated from development and testing. The deployment must be repeatable and fully automated. The solution must not require manual intervention. Which deployment method should you recommend for each agent? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Copilot Studio, use a Microsoft Power Platform deployment pipeline, Microsoft Foundry, use an Azure DevOps pipeline. Why are these options correct? Because Copilot Studio agents are Power Platform solution components, so using a Microsoft Power Platform deployment pipeline enables fully automated, repeatable deployments across isolated environments without manual intervention. Microsoft Foundry agents stored in source control require an Azure DevOps pipeline to achieve fully automated, repeatable CI/CD deployments across test and production environments without manual steps. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Copilot Studio export from the source code repository and import to the target environment, manual exporting and importing requires human intervention, violating the requirement for a fully automated, repeatable deployment process. Copilot Studio, use a bicep file. Bicep is designed for Azure ARM resource deployment and does not deploy Power Platform solution artifacts like Copilot Studio agents. Microsoft Foundry, use a bicep file. Bicep files define Azure infrastructure declaratively, but require an execution pipeline to automate multi-environment deployments from source control without manual intervention. Microsoft Foundry, use a Microsoft Power Platform deployment pipeline. Power Platform deployment pipelines manage Power Platform low-code solution artifacts and cannot deploy Azure-native Microsoft Foundry agents.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company has a Microsoft Copilot Studio prompt and response agent. You need to ensure that the agent meets the following requirements: provides effective and relevant responses, provides conversational outcomes. Which metric should you use for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are provides effective and relevant responses, generated answer rate and quality, provides conversational outcomes, topics by outcome. Why are these options correct? Because generated answer rate and quality measures the frequency, relevance, and accuracy of AI-generated responses from knowledge sources. Topics by outcome tracks conversation dispositions such as resolved, escalated, or abandoned states, directly measuring overall conversational outcomes. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because reactions tracks user sentiment feedback like thumbs up or down, which indicates subjective feedback rather than comprehensive answer generation rate and quality metrics. Tool use measures execution and success rates of integrated actions and plugins, which evaluates integration functionality rather than conversational relevance or outcomes. Satisfaction measures aggregate user CSAT survey scores rather than detailing specific session resolution paths and topic-level outcomes.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You are designing a testing solution for a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent that integrates with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Customer Service and Dynamics 365 Sales. You need to design end-to-end scenarios to test the agent's ability to perform the following actions: coordinate tasks and data interactions across both Dynamics 365 apps, interpret user input and provide contextually relevant outputs. Which test scenario and metric should you include in the design? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are test scenario, run task-based scenarios that involve both apps, metric, track the successful completion of cross-app tasks. Why are these options correct? Because test scenario, run task-based scenarios that involve both apps, running task-based scenarios involving both apps validates end-to-end coordination and contextual data interaction across Dynamics 365 customer service and sales. Metric, track the successful completion of cross-app tasks. Tracking cross-app task completion directly measures the agent's effectiveness in performing end-to-end multi-app workflows and delivering relevant outputs. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because in each app, test isolated tasks without using workflows. Testing isolated tasks in individual apps fails to evaluate cross-app data interactions, workflow orchestration, or end-to-end integration capabilities. Test visual consistency across both apps. Visual consistency focuses on user interface design rather than testing functional agent logic, data exchange, or task coordination across services. Measure the initial prompt response time for each app. Measuring response latency evaluates performance speed but does not verify whether multi-app data coordination or task execution succeeded correctly. Track the average click rate across both apps. Click rate is a UI engagement metric that does not validate functional agent performance, cross-app data accuracy, or task completion.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. A company has an AI solution that uses a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent. You need to monitor the agent's performance. The solution must meet the following requirements: monitor the agent's telemetry in near real-time (NRT), download transcripts of full conversations, monitor the agent's usage and performance. What should you use for each requirement? To answer, drag the appropriate options to the correct requirements. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are monitor the agent's telemetry in NRT, application insights, download transcripts of full conversations, Microsoft Power Apps, monitor the agent's usage and performance, Copilot Studio. Why are these options correct? Because Application Insights connects directly to Copilot Studio to stream agent telemetry, custom events, and execution logs in near real time. Microsoft Power Apps provides access to Dataverse where full conversation logs are stored, enabling export of the conversation transcript table. Copilot Studio features built-in out-of-the-box analytics dashboards to monitor agent performance, session outcomes, CSAT, and usage metrics. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because log analytics is used for querying log data rather than directly linking to Copilot Studio for near real-time telemetry streaming. Copilot Studio for NRT telemetry. Copilot Studio's built-in analytics provide aggregated reports rather than streaming near real-time raw telemetry events. Microsoft Power Apps for usage and performance. Power Apps is a low-code application builder and Dataverse portal, not an analytics tool for monitoring agent KPIs. Application Insights for usage dashboards. Application Insights tracks diagnostic technical telemetry rather than out-of-the-box business metrics like session resolution rates.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. A company deploys a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent that integrates with a Microsoft Power Automate desktop flow. You need to recommend a testing solution that meets the following requirements. Test cases must validate the most recent changes to the agent before the agent is released. The flow must be validated as part of the agent's orchestration. What should you recommend for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are validate the most recent changes to the agent before release, run tests against the latest unpublished version of the agent, validate the flow as part of the agent's orchestration, add the flow to the agent as a tool. Why are these options correct? Because running tests against the latest unpublished version allows you to validate recent modifications in Copilot Studio before deploying them to users. Adding the flow to the agent as a tool enables Copilot Studio to trigger and validate the desktop flow directly during agent orchestration. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because publish the agent to a channel and test the agent on live users. Testing live users with unpublished/untested changes risks exposing breaking features directly to end users. Run tests against the production version of the agent. Testing production only validates previously published content, failing to test unreleased draft changes. Add the flow to a Canvas app. Integrating the flow into a Canvas app tests app-level execution, not the Copilot agent's direct orchestration. Use the Power Automate for desktop console. Running the flow via desktop console tests standalone flow execution without validating agent triggering and orchestration.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company deploys agents that generate responses by using Azure OpenAI resources. The agents are deployed to both the United States and Europe. You need to recommend a governance solution that meets the following requirements: enforces the deployment of the resources to only approved Azure regions, provides continuous compliance verification of the resources. What should you include in the recommendation for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are: enforces the deployment of the resources to only approved regions. Azure Policy provides continuous compliance verification of the resources. Azure Policy. Why are these options correct? Because Azure Policy uses the allowed locations policy definition to deny resource deployments outside specified regions, ensuring resources are created only in approved locations. Azure Policy continuously scans deployed resources on an automated schedule, every 24 hours, to evaluate and verify ongoing compliance against assigned governance policies. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Azure Monitor, used for collecting, analyzing, and acting on telemetry data, but cannot enforce deployment restrictions or verify policy compliance. Microsoft Defender for Cloud focuses on workload protection and cloud security posture management rather than enforcing resource creation location rules or custom policy compliance. Microsoft Purview, designed for data governance, cataloging, lineage, and data sensitivity classification, not infrastructure deployment, regional enforcement, or resource compliance verification. Microsoft Sentinel, a cloud-native SIEM and SOAR solution for security threat detection and incident response, not resource location enforcement or governance compliance verification.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company uses Azure OpenAI models that use grounding data from Microsoft Fabric for agents. The models are fine-tuned by using proprietary datasets. You need to design a governance solution that meets the following requirements: restricts access to the grounding data to only assigned roles, restricts model fine-tuning to only the AI engineering team. What should you include in the design? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are: restricts access to the grounding data, Microsoft Purview access policies, restricts model fine-tuning, role-based access control, RBAC, in Microsoft Foundry. Why are these options correct? Because Microsoft Purview access policies provide centralized data governance to restrict and grant role-based access directly to grounding data stored in Microsoft Fabric. Role-based access control, RBAC, in Microsoft Foundry grants fine-tuning permissions specifically to authorized roles, restricting fine-tuning capabilities exclusively to the AI engineering team. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Azure AI Content Safety filters inappropriate or harmful content in prompts and completions, but cannot manage data access permissions for Microsoft Fabric. Azure Monitor alerts generate notifications based on metrics and logs, but do not control data or resource access. Azure Policy Compliance Rules. Azure Policy enforces Azure resource creation compliance and governance rules, but cannot manage data plane access inside Microsoft Fabric or control specific workspace operation roles. Azure Resource Manager, ARM, resource locks. Resource locks protect Azure resources against accidental deletion or modification, but cannot grant or restrict role-based fine-tuning permissions.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company has a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent that has been in production for 3 months. The agent has received positive feedback from users. You need to identify the number of questions unanswered by the agent and the number of abandoned sessions between the users and the agent. Which Copilot Studio insights should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate insights to the correct requirements. Each insight may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
Correct options are the number of unanswered questions, generated answer rate and quality, the number of abandoned sessions, conversation outcomes. Why are these options correct? Because generated answer rate and quality analytics in Copilot Studio track the frequency, success rate, and count of unanswered user questions. Conversation outcomes analytics report session completion statuses, including resolved, escalated, and abandoned user sessions. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because reactions measures end-user sentiment through thumbs up and thumbs down response ratings, not session abandonment or unanswered questions. Survey results tracks customer satisfaction, CSAT, scores collected from post-conversation surveys rather than topic failures or abandoned sessions.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company has Microsoft Power Platform development, staging, and production environments. Each environment has its own Microsoft Dataverse tables and Azure AI Search Index. You are designing an application lifecycle management (AIM) process to deploy a Microsoft Copilot Studio agent between the environments. The company has a Copilot Studio agent named Agent 1 in development. Agent 1 uses the following grounding data sources: a Dataverse table named Customer Orders and Azure AI Search Index named Customer Knowledge. You need to deploy Agent 1 to production. The solution must ensure that the agent uses the production grounding data sources, minimizes downtime, and handles credentials and endpoints securely. What should you include in the deployment package solution, and what should you reconfigure after the deployment? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are include in the deployment package solution, Agent 1 and references to the data sources, reconfigure after the deployment, the environment variables. Why are these options correct? Because including Agent 1 and data source references, such as connection references, decouples environment-specific endpoints and credentials from the agent definition, adhering to Power Platform ALM standards. Reconfiguring environment variables in the target environment securely updates data source parameters, e.g., production Azure AI Search Index and Dataverse endpoints, without modifying Agent 1 or causing downtime. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Agent 1 only hardcodes development endpoints, preventing redirection to production data sources. The data sources only misses the agent itself in the deployment package. Agent 1 and the data source connections. Connections are environment-specific and cannot be exported in solution packages. Agent 1, the data sources, and the data source connections. Exporting live connections introduces hard-coded dependencies, violating ALM guidelines. The Dataverse connection only leaves Azure AI Search pointing to the development index. The Azure AI Search connection only leaves Dataverse pointing to the development source. The Dataverse and Azure AI Search connections direct reconfiguration bypasses environment variables, creating unmanaged layers and security risks. The Agent 1 configuration direct alterations in production create unmanaged layers, breaking ALM compliance.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You use Microsoft Copilot Studio Analytics to analyze the performance of a deployed Copilot Studio agent. You need to identify which performance metrics to use to measure the following: the percentage of engaged sessions that are escalated to a live customer service representative, the number of agent queries that cause a knowledge source error. What should you identify for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
Correct options are the percentage of engaged sessions that are escalated to a representative, escalation rate, the number of agent queries that cause a knowledge source error, answer quality. Why are these options correct? Because escalation rate tracks the percentage of engaged sessions transferred to a live customer service representative when the agent cannot resolve an issue. Answer quality measures AI response health and performance, including tracking agent queries that failed due to knowledge source errors. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because customer satisfaction, CSAT, score measures user feedback ratings after session completion, not the percentage of session escalations or errors. Engagement rate measures the proportion of total sessions that become engaged interactions, rather than escalations or query knowledge errors.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. A company has a cloud-based AI solution that uses Azure OpenAI models. You need to design a monitoring solution that meets the following requirements: monitors performance metrics and operational health for the models, monitors AI apps and agents for compliance, uses Azure native capabilities, minimizes development effort. What should you use for each requirement? To answer, drag the appropriate options to the correct requirements. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are monitors AI app and agents for compliance, Microsoft Purview, monitors performance metrics and operational health, Azure Monitor. Why are these options correct? Because Microsoft Purview provides built-in data security, risk management, and compliance governance specifically for AI applications and agents. Azure Monitor delivers native tracking for performance metrics, token usage, latency, availability, and operational health of Azure OpenAI resources. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Azure policy, used to enforce infrastructure configuration standards and resource compliance, not for monitoring runtime AI applications/agent compliance or operational performance metrics. Azure API Management handles API gateway routing, rate limiting, and security policies for APIs, but does not provide native AI compliance monitoring or model operational health metrics. Microsoft Defender focuses on threat detection and security posture management, not comprehensive AI compliance tracking or model performance/health monitoring. Azure Stream Analytics, designed for real-time complex event processing and data stream analytics, not built-in operational health or AI compliance monitoring.